let's move on to the next. Yeah, there is some people coming in, like just cross quickly now so that we don't have to disturb the speaker afterwards. And generally, if people could really try to move in the middle, so because there is always people coming. So, next up is Memi. I'm actually honored to have him here. He was also giving a workshop 2 days ago. People really liked it. I had the chance to work with him sometime, and I'm a fan. I don't want to miss any of his talks. I'm a real fan of him, so I think you'll be really entertained also. Maybe.
Thank you. Wow, thank you very much. Yeah, this is me. I am an interaction designer. I just founded my own company, LessMS. I do content strategy. And before this, I had several really successful careers. One in dental product modeling, drag queening, and my biggest dream, one thing I want to do in my life is have a punk band with the name of Leggings. So this is me. Today, user experience of the Internet of Things. Okay, 1 second. The mobile revolution. It has taken us by storm and is still in full effect. I'm going to talk to you about the next chapter in this evolution. It will be all about making everyday life easier and more enjoyable. Before we start, though, I want to talk to you about a few things that make everyday life really hard and complicated. Number one, our life is filled with interactions with devices that are confusing and complicated. For example, ticketing machines. Actually, the coin part is the easiest thing in the ticketing machine. If you deal with the interface, it's a completely different thing. Or light arrays, switches that are really confusing, that you have to press 17 times until you find out which light you're switching on or off. Number two, our lives are filled with tasks that are completely unnecessary, things we would rather not do. For example, here, the Wi-Fi nightmare where the provider wants to have your identity verified by sending you an SMS, which of course does not work if you don't have any signal. This actually happened to me in the premises of Swisscom. I was in a Swisscom building and they tried to send me an SMS to let me use their Wi-Fi. Yes. Number three, many of the devices you use have no idea who is using them and what's the purpose of their use. So devices in the future will have the knowledge of this context. And context will be the new currency. It will be the new king. So, to sum it up, the main pain points of interaction today are silly workflows, confusing interfaces, and the lack of context. Don't worry, this is all going to change. We are all entering an era where everything knows everything. Well, we have that already, but some people have that. No, it's an era where objects are interconnected, where things have an identity, where manual tasks are replaced by digital processes. And this is possible because objects have an identity and because everything is connected to the internet. This is called the Internet of Things. Objects that can communicate with other objects or with computers and smartphones over the internet. Like this plant sensor. It can tell me your plant needs watering and can communicate that through Twitter or email or whatever option of the internet. The Internet of Things is like a perfect storm. There are a few things coming together, forming something really, really bigger and unexpected. These are the elements of this perfect storm. Minification. Devices are getting smaller and smaller. They're getting much more affordable and they're using much less energy than they used to do. Minification is the reason why our smartphones are smart in the first place. You wouldn't have a camera on your smartphone if it weren't for minification, or the computing power if it weren't for minification. So minification is the reason of all this convergence, of all the things coming together in just this tiny little piece of metal. The second element is matured sensor technology. So these technologies, thanks to minification also, are so small that they can be fitted into any other object, and they can sense proximity, noise, light, chemical composition. There's a whole range of things that these sensors can measure, and that's a really, really essential part. Also in smartphones, you have a vast range of sensors. For example, blind people check if their lights are on with their smartphone. They don't, perhaps they had company from people that can see, so they needed the lights on. If those people leave, they have to figure out, okay, I have to switch off my lights. How do I do that? They use their smartphone and say, is the light on? Siri, switch off the lights. And Siri does that one day. But they really do that. They really use the smartphone to find out if the light is still on. The third element is mobile everywhere. It's the rise of the mobile web. Everything is the rise of the mobile web that made computing available everywhere. So not only the computing power you have in your smartphone, but also the computing power that can be sent to you via the internet. You send a job to a server, that does the work, and you get the result, and don't need the computing power in your hands. Okay. One more lucky coincidence is the changing from our current IP system to a new IP system, IPv6 it's called. And this number down here is the number of IP addresses that we have to our disposition. So that's 340 undecillions. And this roughly translates to 60 billion IP addresses per square centimeter of ground on this planet, which means every grain of sand on this planet can have an IP address, which should be enough for a while. So before IPv6, it was really hard. Okay, we were running out of IP addresses. The Internet of Things was just not possible to do. The concept of IPv6 has been around for a while, but we need adoption now, and this is starting to happen. Did I click here? Okay, let's go through a few elements that make the Internet of Things what it is. It's not all the elements, but these are the few elements that that you will encounter in your job. First of all, and very important, near-field communication. These are some logos associated with near-field communication. The middle one you probably see around now. Zurich Transport has, it's here down in the bottom, Zurich Transport has put stickers on their ticketing machines to show people, okay, if you have NFC, if you have an NFC credit card or if you have an NFC phone, you can pay with your phone now. I will not talk about payment, contactless payment, but I will show you what the state is. I think NFC is really important, and I think it's worthwhile that we know its principle. So without going into much technical detail, I want to show you how it works. NFC allows smartphones or any other device that has NFC in it to communicate with other devices. And all that happens is an exchange of information. And this happens just by touching the device with the other NFC-enabled device. And this is called pairing. So you have two devices, you touch, they touch each other, and the information gets exchanged. Exchange of information is also possible with chips, NFC tags, as they're called, and you need a device that is powered, and this has no electricity in it, but by approaching it, the information gets exchanged. I have a really, really dry mouth. I'm really sorry. It messes up my articulation. Okay. Devices can read information from other devices or tags, and they also can write information onto tags. One example of this would be you have this book, which is part of a company library, and whenever you want to take out a book, you just scan the tag with your smartphone, and an interface appears. Do you want to borrow this book? Yes, borrow book. And the system knows, okay, it's you that borrowed the book because your smartphone is registered in the library for being this smartphone. So it makes it really easy to have a library system inside a company and knowing who has taken out books when, where. This actually really exists. It's not put in place, but we developed this in the course of a day. It took us a day to hack this, and it's really, really simple, but it has an enormous impact on how you could use company libraries. Apart from NFC, there's sensors. Much of the power of the Internet of Things relies on sensors. Sensors capture physical properties and translate them into electrical signals. So noise, light, motion, they're all recorded and then digitized and transferred to a computing unit. On the other hand, you have actuators. That's the other direction. An electrical signal gets transformed into a physical property. So you have a signal for light, a light starts blinking. You have a signal for noise, a sound goes off. You have a signal for motion, a door opens. So that's exactly the opposite direction, but also a very crucial part of the Internet of Things. Then the zombie. Strange enough, the Internet of Things brings us back to an old friend that we have made fun of many, many, many times. You can't see it really? It's QR codes. Believe it or not, QR codes are a very cheap way to attach digital identity to an object. And despite the fact that we can do many, many things with much more advanced technology, QR codes are cheap. You don't need hardware to do QR codes. You just need a printer. And this makes this is an advantage that is not to be underestimated. So you can attach a digital identity to an object via QR code. QR code have been misused by marketing departments way too much. We must say goodbye to the notion that QR codes only can be used to transfer users from a billboard to a marketing website. That's not how it works. QR codes are complicated in the sense of they only work if the reader is not with the user. So Swiss Railways has been using coded tickets for a very long time, and they work perfectly. Well, the devices don't work always, but the workflow is very clear. The ticket inspector, he knows what to do, or she. They don't know. They know. Okay, I've got to scan this ticket. And the usual users, they're completely lost when it comes down to QR codes. They see this, but they have no idea. They start, as they say, downloading an app, then they open the camera and take a picture, and nothing happens. Because they don't know, okay, that's the app you have to take the picture with. So if the reader is with the user, then there's no problem. If the code is with the user, then there is no problem. So let's have a look at the Internet of Things so far. Medicine. There's a whole bunch of applications for the Internet of Things that have to deal with helping the body to work. So figuring out what is going on with the body at that certain moment. This is insulin pump implants, glucose monitors, or Wi-Fi pacemakers. So your pacemaker analyzes your movements and can adapt the pace of your heart. And this information can all be transmitted wirelessly to a doctor that can monitor what is going on inside that heart, inside that pacemaker. The Internet of Nature, that has to do with monitoring the environment. This can be used for detecting fires, for example. You have an area that is really vast, and you want to know when fires break out. So it's a distributed network of sensors analyzing air and then reporting back as soon as the level of carbon monoxide reaches a certain level. These networks, of course, are connected to the internet, and they are very low level, very low maintenance networks. They're very robust, and they are very low energy networks. So technology has advanced so much that you can have low energy sensors and low energy connections to allow such a wide area network of sensors to control nature or to monitor nature. That's called hazard detection and distributed monitoring. Okay, art. Artists go nuts about the Internet of Things, and they always have. The first Internet of Things art is from the 90s, with Stelarc doing really, really crazy things, like attaching himself to the Internet and letting people control his body movements. But there have been a few other really interesting experiments. This is the addictive toaster. Now, this toaster registers how frequently you use it, and it is attached to the Internet and has its peers, the fellow toasters. And if you must prove to be worthy of using him or using it. And if you don't use it enough, it will complain about you over Twitter, and it will be really jealous about the other toasters that are used much more. And if you don't improve your behavior, it sells itself over the Internet. So this is, maybe we should learn to be worthy of the products that we buy. And maybe that would be a good thing to sort of limit the things we buy and then don't use. Maybe they should be able to sell themselves, and there should be a collecting service. Ding dong! Your washing machine sold itself. I'm here to pick it up. Here's the money. Thank you. Okay. The descriptive camera. This camera takes a picture, sends it to a mechanical Turk service, which then sends you back a description of what is on the picture. So I could take a picture of you, send it there, and I will get description. People sitting in rows looking all in the same direction. That's what you get. And that comes out here on this slip of paper. It's art. It has no purpose. It's great. And there are tons of projects like this. It's really awesome. Near-field communication. We have been using near-field communication for years now without knowing it or without being aware of it. Oyster card, library cards. Whenever you get into your hotel room and you have a card that you can use to open your hotel room, that's NFC. Now, why is this a revolution if we have been using it all along? The point is that now, with a smartphone, we hold the reader. Again, we can read stuff, and our smartphone has a display that can show an interface. And NFC is just a gateway to do stuff. So this is the crucial difference between an Oyster card NFC and NFC in your phone that is a reader. So NFC in the future will not be about opening the gates at Charing Cross. It will be about connecting yourself to information and back. It's all about access and ID. Now, I'm going to show you a few use cases, how this might be in the future. And already, these are semi-futuristic showcases because a lot of them exist in the lab or in niche things. And it's just waiting for mass adoption. Many of the things we saw before had to do with very specific user needs. Like not everybody needs a Wi-Fi pacemaker, thankfully enough. So the stuff I'm going to show you is much more likely to be suitable for much more than those with a heart condition. I will not talk about contactless payment. I think contactless payment is fantastic, but there are much more interesting use cases than just exchanging money. You touch that device and your money goes there. That's about that's about what it is. It's not very interesting. I think that the interesting fields are travel, being on the move, healthcare, home automation, things like that. And I will show you a few examples of that. The most trivial one is Wi-Fi. So, hotel Wi-Fi, they suck, really. Something so simple made so complicated. Wi-Fi credentials could be written on an NFC tag. You could use your smartphone, and there you go. You can have a backup with an ID and a password, but the tags would make it much, much easier for a lot of use cases. So it would get rid of the error-prone typing, and it would just be very fast and easy. Next scenario, much more refined. Imagine you're in Tokyo. It is summer, it is hot, it is humid. You are in your hotel room. And it's a good thing you have air conditioning. Unfortunately, your remote control looks something like this. Yeah, they exist. So, wouldn't it be great if you could hold your phone against a chip and it would show you an interface that you actually can use to steer the air conditioning in a language you can understand, in a temperature system that you know you're familiar with. This is really simple. Thanks to minification, we can put little, small, tiny servers into air conditioning that can be reached through the Wi-Fi, through internet. You can put small tags on the wall to signal, hey, go here with your NFC-enabled smartphone and you'll be able to control the air conditioning. You can leave the other air conditioning in the room if you want, but that would be a much more intuitive way to actually use the air conditioning. And it would force us to, no, it would not force us, it would allow us to have an interface that is much, much simpler than this interface here. It has a lot of buttons, and even if it was in our language, we will always have to figure out, okay, what am I doing? Car sharing. Imagine you share your car with your spouse, and whenever you use the car after your spouse has been using it, you have to adjust the mirrors, the radio station, the seat. And wouldn't it be great if you just open the car and everything is done for you? This is a list of actual keyless Go projects, actual projects that deal with this scenario. You don't need a key, but you need a personal device. And with this personal device, you can control all the adjustments that you can control in that specific car. So this looks really impressive, and I figure that this will hit the market very soon in a large scale. A similar scenario is rentals. This is a company from Barcelona, Eco Ultra, and they have a system where users can rent scooters over the internet, and they can they send the key to the scooters to the mobile phone, and you just unlock the scooter with your mobile phone, because they know, okay, this phone made the reservation, and so you can use that phone to make to open the scooter, or I can rent a scooter for a friend and let the key be sent to him, to his phone. So this also has the advantage that if your scooter doesn't work, you just are sent another key for another scooter. You don't have to go back to the booth and say, listen, it doesn't work. You just it can be done there. Okay. Next, home automation. I forgot to put the title here. Home automation. I will not talk to you about the intelligent fridge. This will not happen for a while, I think. The intelligent fridge, you know, the fridge that knows how much stuff is in it and knows what you want to have for dinner and order stuff according to your previous usage. That scenario has been around for, I don't know, 20, 30 years, and it's not happening, at least not at the moment. I want to talk to you about energy. Our households spend a lot of energy just to keep devices on standby. Now, this is totally useless and waste of energy, of course. And there are smart circuits that allow you to monitor your energy consumption and also allow you to control your devices. So if you leave the house, you just can flick a switch on your mobile phone, and the smart circuit powers down all the devices that don't need electricity, like everything but the fridge, for example, because that would be really stupid. That would make the smart circuits really smart. And it does more than that. It also monitors your devices. So if you have your dumb fridge, they can look after it. So your dumb fridge has a heartbeat, and every few minutes the consumption goes up for a second because the cooling unit starts cooling, and then after a few minutes switches off again. So this gives your fridge a heartbeat. Now your smart circuit knows, okay, if this heartbeat goes flat, there's a problem. And instead of coming home late in the evening and finding all your frozen stuff unfrozen, you get a warning after 10 minutes, hey, or 15 minutes, hey, your fridge, I think it's broken. Remote-controlled homes. And I don't mean remote-controlled in the sense that you can send your home for a walk. I mean, not there yet. It has to do with remotely controlling apartments. Imagine you're responsible for a few chalets in the Swiss Alps, and a lot of these chalets, a lot of these holiday homes, they are heated throughout the winter. Yeah, they are. And they are heated throughout the winter, and they spend a lot of energy because you would have to go there to turn up the heating before you go there, which some people find it's really hard because, yeah. So it would actually be great if you could remote control that. You see, okay, I'm going there on Sunday, so Saturday evening you can crank up the heat and your home is nice and cozy when you get there. And this can be done on a large scale for companies that take care of complete arrays of properties. This can also be done with humidity. If the neighbor upstairs breaks some pipes and you've got humidity in your apartment, you can monitor that. And instead of coming to your holiday home and finding your apartment underwater, you realize that really fast because you have humidity sensors in your apartment and they are connected to the internet and they can tell you, hey, humidity has risen to an extreme level and you're not here. Let's change scenario, healthcare. Whenever I am in a hospital, I'm amazed at how many things go on paper. You have all this equipment, and it has all to do with the patient, and nothing is brought together digitally. All these measurements live inside those devices. And a lot of the things is done on paper. This is very error-prone, and it's very rigid. You are limited to this sheet of paper that has to be handed over from nurse, to doctor to nurse. Now, tying information together digitally will be the next step in healthcare, and this is happening now. So, one example would be, this is a thermometer. And instead of just reading the temperature and noting it on a piece of paper, the thermometer could know who it is measuring and could transmit the information to a central unit. And when a doctor comes, he or she would see what the measurements were, not only of his temperature, but also of his blood pressure and which medication the patient had. And it will be all in one place, and it will be all at disposition of every person that has the right to do that. So the information will be tied together and will be much more concise and much less error-prone. So, what does that mean for us as designers? Why is this important to us? Whenever a new technology is established, the hard thing at first is the hardware. And once the bottleneck of the hardware is figured out, then the real challenges become software and interfaces. And the Internet of Things is at that point now. So we will have to adapt the way we think and work to be much, much wider. We will have to adapt techniques from industrial design, from service design to make a complete experience. So to design a holistic experience, we have to go beyond the screen. We have to go beyond what happens on the device we're designing for. We have to understand the complete context of the usage. So we have to understand the devices, not only the devices in a mobile sense or in a screen sense, but also devices that will measure it. So the sensors that we will use, all this equipment, how does it work? What are the possibilities? What can we do? What should we do? What can't we do? We will have to do a lot of translation work, translating physical buttons and physical objects into a digital language. So there's a lot of things that are still very physical that we might think about and might have to translate, and in a way that it feels digitally native and not just a physical representation of a button on a screen. The example of the remote control for the air conditioning, that's one example. You don't just translate the remote control to your mobile phone, but you make an experience and you leverage the ability to have an interface that can change and respond. That sort of things. We will have to think very hard about workflows, about making the digital and the physical come together. This will be a huge, huge challenge for all of us. So, a lot of this is happening right now. And it may not happen today or until next Tuesday. But there's a lot of people that are really, really enthusiastic about that and really working hard to make the future a part of the present. The future of the Internet of Things is now, and it needs just audience like you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mimi. We have some time for questions, if there is some.
Questions? Yeah.
I missed security as a challenge.
Yeah, they figure out that. We will figure out that.
So
Yeah,
can I control your heating, please?
No, yeah, I think. Oh, but yeah, you know, security. Can we have security in here, please? Yeah, security versus usability. Yeah, the titans meet again. Of course, everything can be done unsecurely. But this is a chance to do stuff the right way. And the specifications for NFC, they, for example, they hold a lot of security concerns that they thought of, and it's well thought through. From what I understand as a not very technical person, the goal is to have something that is really simple. I mean, abuse in this field also can be done through leveraging human factors. Human factors are still the weakest part in the chain. So people that note their password on a sticker on the screen, yeah. You can have as many barriers as you want if those things don't work. Multi-level authentication can be done also in connection to the Internet of Things. Leveraging something you know, something you have, something you are, things like this. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, maybe I have to think about it, what are the security concerns? And what does that mean for us as designers? But at the moment, my main concern is getting the attention. Hey, this is possible, and we should do it. A lot of it is not security. Is not crucial to security. Like switching off and on lights in your home. Yeah, if you want to. If you can do that, please do. Please save energy. Questions? Yep.
Yes, Mimi, thank you for your talk. On the web, a lot of us spend a lot of time with working on contingency design, so designing for when things go wrong. And in a world where the smartphone becomes your identification and user interface to all these different devices, and also a key to your car, for example, what happens when I lose my phone?
Yeah, that's a but I think
My phone can tweet to me.
your phone can tweet me, hey, you've been stolen, and your owner treats me much better than you, so I will not tell you where I am. Yes, I think this will be part of working on the workflow. Okay, well, we can't just design a keyless car system and say, okay, this phone now is your car key. Of course, this question comes up. Well, what happens if I lose my phone? Okay, that's where we have to provide a workflow, how to deal with that. And that has possibly nothing to do with the Internet of Things, but is a part of those service designy thing we have to think about. So it doesn't just stop at making things possible, but also providing for worst case. Yeah.
Yeah, even if this is not so related to web yet, maybe because even gesture support, regular gesture support with your fingers is not so well implemented yet. I was wondering if technologies like gesture support where you don't need to touch any interface like Leap Motion or Xbox Kinect.
Yeah.
How do you see those trends, and will they become more important in the future?
Yes, yeah. They will become I can think of niche markets where they may be really important, like in situations where it's important that you don't touch stuff, like in operating, when you operate on a person and you need stuff that you can control oxygen level of the mask, but you're fondling stuff, and where you have to. Yeah, that's what doctors do. Let me fondle your buttocks. I can imagine that in those circumstances, that's very, very, very important. I don't know how much like motion control is apart from gaming, where it's great, can find mass adoption. Yeah, sure. Yes, but that has not necessarily to do with the Internet of Things. This is just an interface. The Internet of Things is more moving information from one place to another. Yes, Minority Report. We will all have very heavy arms. Okay.
Perhaps a very last one, if there is one.
Yeah, thanks for the talk as well. Found it quite interesting. One question is, especially with NFC, as far as I understand it, there's always some interaction required. So you have to take the phone, you have to tap it somewhere, or you have to take whatever device and put it somewhere. Can you maybe a bit explore options of Bluetooth low energy sensors that are coming up more and more, where devices actually can interact with each other without a human doing anything, so that the smartphone knows, okay, I'm now close to the bar, or I'm getting close to my regular coffee shop, I'm going to order the coffee automatically.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about situations like that?
Yes. Then notify me when I'm close to stuff, that thing. Yeah. I think it does not work without first establishing this relationship. It would be really annoying if I pass a store and every second store, oh, well, we got this offer. So that's the fantasy of marketeers. That's not my fantasy, because maybe I have my smartphone out and I want to write an SMS to my wife and not dismiss marketing messages all the time. So but I think once the relationship is established, then that could be done. Yes. Yeah, Bluetooth is one more zombie that is finding its way back. I even had a slide where I zoomed even more into the zombie and call it his teeth blue. But Keynote would sort of freak out if you zoom twice and too much. Yeah. Maybe I should think about more examples for that. The RF Arduino, the little small fingertip-sized Arduino thing, that's one device that can help you figure out stuff. So it interacts. It leverages sensors and actuators and gives you the information that reads on your device. All of this is only possible with Android at the moment. So, but maybe in a month we'll know more about the future of NFC, the love story of NFC and Apple. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Mimi.
Thank you.